pretty sure that insurance rod has.
He's got the mic right there, so we're not talking through that thing and it's showing up.
How's it going, everybody? Feel free, kind of maybe a minute or two. We'll be patient for those that are still traveling in. So, make your way to your seat. Hopefully, you put your name in the drawing bucket, or your child's name in the drawing bucket. So, grab some stickers, grab some towels over to that scout rod. We'll start here in a minute or two. Well, yeah, it sounds like it's just kiddos running around out there, which is totally fine. Hopefully, family affair tonight. Bring everybody.
It's a good place for it.
Yeah, enjoy the campus. That's totally fine. They need kids that are in here too need a break. Go out there, enjoy it. Kept the lights on for everybody. So, before we begin, obviously a little safety brief. We got our exits on the south side and also the north side you guys came in on, which also corresponds with bathrooms. There are these two restrooms down here, just unisex. Line up for one wherever is available if you need to. There are male and female restrooms up top, so sneak out if you need to. Just be courteous. Look out for those around you guys if you're sitting in a tough spot, but try to make it seating kind of good for you to sneak out if you need to. So my name is Aaron Shody, new to the campus here, a naturalist on the education side. So it's fun getting to allow Scott Olson to come in, Dr. Auger, represent the ice fishing community, share a bunch of information with you guys that are either new ice fishermen and women, or also try to get more expertise on the matter. So with that, I also want to highlight some things we've got coming up. As a campus, we're doing some ice rod building actually next week on Thursday. So if you and your family want to come have an activity, it's a 3-day activity. Obviously, take time for everything to set, creating that rod. But cool thing, obviously, if you learn some information here, now you can go get a free rod. We'll let you take the rod home. You just got to go buy everything else that goes with it, all this fun. Yeah. So the ice rod building, and then also pushing Scott Olson's next seminar, which is on the 19th. More electronics based, a little more for those that are looking for a more deeper dive in everything. So be on the lookout for that. All these seminars, we appreciate registering so we know how many chairs we potentially set up, but please just come, take part in everything and learn something new. So with that, I'm gonna pass the mic off to Clint real quick to share some information, and then we'll let Scott Olson take over.
Yep, Clint Whitley, naturalist here at the campus. If you're interested in any of those programs or the couple I've got, the main community programs that we have, just go to the Outdoor Campus website under programming. You can see the registration links for those things. And if you can't find it, through social media or email us, whatever, call us, say I can't find it, we get you hooked up. We want you to come, and all our stuff is free. Again, it's free because of you guys, the hunters, the anglers, and the recreational shooters. That's all why our educational stuff is free. And I have a couple of cool, unique opportunities. I run a lot of the field experiences here at the campus. So today I was on a doe hunt with a couple of young ladies, a couple of participants in the room that have done our Hunting 101 program. If you're new to hunting, want to check that out, bow hunting. We take people out, but it's not just a hunt. We do a lot of things on the side before that, prepping. So that is not really the season anymore. We're just wrapping things up. But in January, I have a fishing 101 started where we will do things from January till August, involving ice fishing and ice spearing to boat fishing and summertime spearing, some various, anything I can think of with fishing, we do it. I'm not gonna be as efficient as Scott is, but I'll figure it out. We can go out and do some.
Spearing would be a lot of fun. I've never done that before.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
It's a lot of fun, either through the ice or underwater snorkeling around and shooting fish. It's a ride. It's a lot of, and I don't even shoot many fish. I just love seeing everything under the water. You talk about learning what fish are doing and what under the water. That's what it's really kind of neat. So there's that, the fishing 101. We also have waterfowl 101. We're doing some waterfowl hunting in January. It's very late compared to the rest of the state. Everyone else freezes up, but here our hunting just gets good mid-January, and the season closes January 15th. So we gotta sneak it right in there. I have that opportunity, and then we have a small game, looking at rabbits. Some rabbit hunting. One of my coworkers does a lot of stuff with, she replaces a lot of chicken in her usual recipes with cottontail rabbit. So fun opportunity to get out and do something on top of ice fishing. So if that's something you guys are interested in, it's meant for the newbies or people who have never tried it. This is not meant for you to get a free guided anything out of it. It's meant for you to learn. So if you're interested in that, just contact me. I'm gonna have some cards back there on that, or as I'm walking out here, just raise your hand slowly and I'll chuck a card at you. But I'll get this over to Scott so he can share his information. So thanks for being here, Scott.
Thank you, guys. I do appreciate it. I appreciate letting me come and do the seminars here every year. Yes, for those of you who haven't been to one yet, my name is Scott Olson, also known as Dr. Auger. And I have been pretty serious about ice fishing since about 2010. It's kind of where I really started kind of getting into it. I did a lot of ice fishing when I was a kid, of course, up at Shade Hill there, because I'm from Lemon originally. So went out with my parents a lot, my grandpa, when I did a lot of ice fishing. But as a kid, you're not so much, fishing, but much just playing on the ice, which is perfectly fine, because you want to have fun when you're a kid out on the ice, and it makes you more comfortable to be out there for fishing or what have you. But then I moved here in 2008 with my wife, and so we're in Cabela's right when the store first opened, and went on a couple of guys for a few trips during that winter, and I got my first ice suit the next year, and ever since then it's been uphill as far as this being maybe very serious about this, being very passionate about ice fishing. I help water fish as well, but this is where my real outdoor passion really lies, is with the ice. And I really like to educate. I like to help people still having success on the ice, being comfortable on the ice, getting the kids involved, family, friends involved, we've done before. So these seminars are a good opportunity for me to kind of help others be successful with what I've learned on the ice through my experience or what I've heard from others, because as fishermen, we tell the truth, right? We all tell the truth all the time. At least that's what I keep telling myself. But as far as this first one here, this one is going to be kind of a general ice seminar here, just more information here. We will do some ice safety. We're going to go over some lakes, some different ideas, kind of where to find fish, resources to use, and then close to the end, I'm going to do the first kids panel we've ever done, because this little one here likes to have questions, likes to answer questions too. So I decided to let her kind of run a panel up here for about 10 minutes or so with 3 kids, if we're going to pick from the barrel over there. And then after that, we'll kind of get into more of the Q&A with me. We'll do some door prizes right after that. And that's going to do it for our evening. So if you guys are ready, but we will get started here. All right, so we are, in my opinion, we're kind of in the golden days of ice fishing right now, because there's so much, technology involved with ice fishing these days. So we have our lightweight shelters today, for mobility. We have our hubs, and we have our fish traps on the sleds. We have waterproof, windproof, and insulated ice suits. I mean, I've been wearing those, like I said, since 2010 when I got my first one. It's basically like wearing a shelter on your back and on your bottom there. It keeps you dry, keeps you warm, more or less keeps the wind at bay is really important, especially this morning when I was up on Sylvan. Electric augers and plastic synthetic systems like the K-Drill or the new Maven from StrikeMaster or the Ion. There's so many different ways out there. We're no longer hauling around 30+ pound gas augers anymore. I've still got my old Jiffy auger in my house. Actually, it was 36 pounds when I first got into ice fishing around here. It's nice to go down from that to a 12-pound system like that, like I've been running the last several years. And like I said, we just different technology. We've got flashers, you got forward-facing sonar. You got all kinds of different ways to be able to see the fish and find the fish. We've got rods and reels that don't ice up so much anymore like they used to. The guides are made differently now, where they don't get that get a chunk of ice on there. If there is, you just have to get a little flick and off it comes. Fishing line doesn't ice up so bad, other than like braid. Braid line tends to get a little icy, but ice braid isn't as bad as others. So. Portable heaters and portable power packs to keep you really warm and keep your devices charged up, because on the ice, with kids, you gotta have a device, right, for them to watch when it's getting really boring outside. Very important. Technique-specific lures, and we've got all these lures here that I've got for over the last 10 years. There's just so many different types of things to do here. GPS maps that are available, so you can find the spot on the spot, on your phone or on your computer, what have you. There's all kinds of different places to find lake maps these days. But are you feeling a little overwhelmed or a little lighter in the wallet thinking about all this tech? Because it can definitely, because I got into this sport thinking it was going to be a pretty cheap sport. No, not so much anymore these days. But the number one misconception these days in ice fishing is having the best gear catches you more fish. That is not true, because while having a lot of the top line gear can help with some aspects of ice fishing, you certainly don't need the top of the line stuff to both find and catch fish. For the most part, a $30 combo catches as much as a $100 combo. My daughter can attest to that. Her little pink one is about a $30 combo, and I've got plenty of $100 plus combos up here. She catches as much fish as me or something. I just think she's lucky for the most part. But your forward-facing sonar, such as this Eagle Eye that I got last year, can definitely help you find more fish faster. But getting to know a lake map ahead of time can actually help you pinpoint places where fish might congregate just as much as having one of these things will. So it's not necessarily a needed device, even if it does give you some advantages. I still recommend having a Vexilar or a different kind of flasher, just because it's nice to see what's below you. I mean, when I was a kid and a teen, when I was ice fishing, we just threw down, a bobber, a worm, or a minnow, and called it, 6 inches off the bottom, and then we sit and wait until like a school of perch would come through or something would take the lure down. So it's nice to know if there are fish around you though. So I always like to say but you don't necessarily have to use like a top of line flasher. Most of these ones here are kind of Vexilar. It's high-end models here. Although the 12 here, that is my daughter Aurora's, that one is kind of a lower-end model. It's basically good for 20 foot or less of water. So for the most part, that's what we're really fishing when I'm with my wife and her. But I always recommend having an ice armor suit or any other brand out there, just because it's going to be windy more than likely. We live in South Dakota. You're probably going to get wet more than likely unless you're cutting this far away from a hole. But you need something. But even if nothing else, bib, just some warm bibs, warm insulated jacket, just something to keep you comfortable out on the ice will help as well. It doesn't have to be a float suit, but early ice like right now or late ice, I would highly recommend at least looking into an ice suit, because most of them, they are all floating anymore these days, and there are a lot of good sales out there, especially on the holidays right now for suits. All right, so first and foremost, since the season basically just got started for me a day before Thanksgiving, because we finally got some cold weather around here, is definitely ice safety. So as of this week, there is very little around here that I would consider like safe ice. For those who don't have the experience or the safety gear, I've been getting out. I myself tend to get out on pretty thin ice, but I've been doing it for several years. I have the safety gear. I have enough experience to kind of know what the ice can tolerate with me on it. But for, for a lot of people, it's probably not the best idea to go out right now and probably wait another week or two, I would say. Sylvan, I was on Sylvan this morning. There was 6 inches on the south side of the lake. So that's, that's above the kind of the minimum 4-inch recommendation that the Game and Fish does put out. You got your 4 inches for walking. You can bring a snowmobile or a 4-wheeler out in 5. I prefer about the foot if I bring my 4-wheeler myself, but and 8 to 12 inches for a car or a small truck, and then 12 to 15 for a small truck or for a larger truck. That's kind of what recommended is, but it's also important to make sure you have the right tools. So I'm just going to kind of get these up here and kind of go through them quick. All right, so first and foremost, ice picks. These never leave my neck at all this time of year. And probably won't leave it until the ice is at least 8 inches thick. This is probably the cheapest life insurance you can buy for yourself out on early ice. Just because if something were to happen, you were to fall through, these will help you get out. Once they're on, if you do fall through, all you gotta do is just ground like this, and you've got them ready right there to be able to pull yourself out. For $7 to $15, that's all that's all that these picks run. It's probably your cheapest life insurance you can ever have for yourself right now on thinner ice. Safety rope, which I have one here. I always carry this with me on my bag no matter what time of year, either on this newer bag I got or my older bag, but it's always with me just in case something happens. And because how these work is this has a 20-foot rope on it. You grab one end, unclip this, and you would just hold on to the loop and toss the bag out, and the rope would just unfurl out, and the person on the other side can grab it, and you can pull them out. So it's very important to have not so much an actual ice safe rope like this, but any rope is better than not having one right now. And of course, probably one of the most important or nice things is a spud bar. So this is my favorite tool to use this time of year, because this tells me how thick the ice is when I start looking at getting on. Because these things, they're heavy. They've got the points on the end here. Clam, this one didn't make a clam, but there's also Rapala makes one, Eskimo makes one, there's other ones out there. But these ones they're nice to have, because these, if you know how to use these, and there's plenty of YouTube videos out there, they will help you tell how much ice you have. Like for me, I'm hitting it pretty hard, like you're supposed to. If I go through one poke, that means less than 2 inches. If it takes me 2 pokes, that's usually about 3, maybe 4 if the ice is pretty hard. But like on Silver this morning when I was checking, I couldn't get through in 4. So I knew it was at least 5 inches or more. And then when I drilled, I measured it was 6. When I was down in Stockade, I got on West Side Stockade this morning as well. That was 3 inches. Because it was 1 and 2. Got through on the second one in most places. And then when you do that, you're only walking a little bit here. You're going out. Don't just do it right here, right? Because that seems kind of dumb to me. Because you're doing this right below you, you probably break the ice way around you. Lean out a little bit when you're using these spud bars. But it's a very important tool, and it's like watching videos at the beginning of the year is a good way to kind of learn how to use the spud bar appropriately. Just so you can make sure the ice in front of you is actually good to get on. And then of course the float suits, or at the very least a life jacket, just in case you were to fall through, you will not sink. And this question is asking me every year, have I ever fallen through? Yes, I have. I fell through at Deerfield late ice 2 years ago. Actually, I fell through twice within a very short time. But the suit, I stopped here. I didn't go any lower than this, which is good because my phone was here. And I got myself out both times using little just kind of instincts and the picks to get myself out, and letting the float suit kind of let me float up as well. So it does happen, but in case it does, they do help. At least a life jacket will also do the same. And of course, bring a buddy, because if you get in trouble, you might need some help. They are there to help you in any way they can, whether it's a safety rope or if you have to belly crawl out there and kind of help pull you out. But it's always important this time of year to go out with a friend or somebody else who can help in case something happens. So that's kind of ice safety 101 for this time of year, with the current conditions that we do have here in the hills. All right, so now we'll get some location tips here. So first we'll go is trout, because they're kind of they're always a fun one to hit. There are little smaller ponds around here, always ice over first. I've been on Mitchell already, and like so I in Silver this morning, like I said. Most of our lakes or the smaller ponds around here have already got about 4 or 5 inches from the last reports that I've heard. So for trout, you kind of want to focus on bays or shoreline areas where the depth can drop really quickly, because a lot of times they'll hang out right along where that drop is. Don't be afraid to fish very shallow, especially if you're on Pactola. There's been plenty of times where I've caught trout there in less than 5 feet of water, which is real fun. Then you can look down your hole and just watch your lure and watch fish come and smash it. That's always a lot of fun to fish in that super clear water there at Pactola, and they're really shallow. Look for places that have lots of weeds, because the weeds offer, and especially if they're green, which they still should be this time of year, because that's oxygen, and that offers them bugs and food and other food to feed on while they're there. So most of the ponds around here have all got lots of weeds here and there. So anytime you can get over those weeds, you get a good chance of finding some fish. Don't forget to bring some dead sticks or some tip-ups up with you, because they will hit those just as well as any other fish will out there, walleye, pike, what have you. And you know, it's always, having more lines in the water is always a good thing. Place them at different depths so you can kind of see where the fish are running through. This was up on Sylvan last year. Some examples: you got the South Boat Launch area and the shoreline, and that southern shoreline at Pactola. Always good places to kind of find some trout, especially the bigger ones. Jenny Gulch as well, probably the next week or so should be about walkable. And then weedy areas around like Sylvan and Center. Center is always a place to hear about. It has pretty steep drops, and the fishing is usually pretty good. So, but Center as of 2 days ago was only skimmed over, so it's not nearly ready yet. So I'm going to we're going to go around the corner a little bit. We're going to cover some spots here on Pactola for those who may not know, because my laser point works a little better the further out I get. So you've got southern shoreline area here, marina area. This entire area here is a really good trout for going after trout, and pretty easily accessible, which is nice. You don't have to walk a long ways to get out the water. Up here, the North Marina is also a pretty good area to go over here. Good place to go as well, especially back in the bay. Some guys fish around Veterans Point here, and I've heard that around that little island is a good place to find some big ones as well. I haven't fished it yet, but it's on my plan to do this year. And of course, back here in Jenny Gulch, another really good place to go for some early season trout action. And those are kind of the places I'm familiar with on Pactola currently. All right, and where I was this morning, it's Sylvan. Sylvan's basically kind of a bowl. There's not a whole lot of real structure there, or like a lot of real big drops, especially on the southern side here where I was this morning. It's a lot more deeper out here towards the dam and off the rock faces. But I did not check those this morning, so I'm not sure how good the ice is. I just know this area here had about 6 inches on it this morning. But and then there was plenty of, there was a lot, and a couple days ago, I had a buddy up there, he said they were on fire. You can keep them off the hook there. So another idea here for if anybody's interested, we got 6 inches on it right now, so good place to look at going. Center Lake, always a popular place to take kids. Now you got the beach area, and back in this area, those are always places where I see a lot of guys fishing, especially out these sheer rocks that are over here. I fish on this side a lot, and it drops pretty quick from about 5 feet down to about 13. You're pretty quick. And that's usually where I'll put up tip-ups, or that's where I'll jig for a lot of times in about anywhere from 8 to 10 feet of water to find them. And there's some guys who go out here in deeper water, but this is kind of the area here that I focus on myself and usually have the best success. All right, now we'll get into some panfish. Now that stockade's home, give it a week or two for some better ice, but good panfish bite is probably the best kind of bite for newer ice anglers and kids as well, because you can catch a lot of fish without a whole lot of effort or technique. Because when they're going, they're going to hit almost whatever you drop below them. But for the more experienced ice heads, panfish, especially bluegills, can be one of the pickiest and most frustrating fish to try and catch, especially if you were trying to find bigger ones. Those are the ones that are educated, who kind of know, they've seen a lot, and they are very picky about what you put at them or how your lure looks. If it's even turning just a little bit like this, they won't even touch it, they won't go near it. Best locations for early ice and late ice would be weed area beds in the back of bays and edges along main shorelines along the lakes. Some panfish like perch and crappie will suspend in the middle of the season. That's kind of what I call the winter doldrums time of the year, because they are hard to find. When you do find them, you got to keep moving because they're just constantly going through. We used to have to drill a lot of holes to try and keep up with them, and now if you've got someone with a forward-facing system, it's a lot easier to kind of find where they're at. But when they're in deeper water, they are pretty hard to keep on. And on different lakes like Sheridan, long stretches of the mud, like especially on the 385 Bay area or the north side, are good places to find perch. All right, so Chipper Bay here, usually a popular area when first ice is over. It's a good place to find lots of bluegills, a few crappies here and there, but you will catch bass and pike as well if you put your tip-ups out. South Marina here, another good spot. I fished there a few times last year, had really good success. The Cassivas organization that I help out with, this is where we had our first event last year, and everybody caught lots of bluegills and a few perch, other fish. The North Marina up here, usually a good place too once the ice is up, and it's easy to access. You can park right here and you're in 10 feet around the water. It's a nice place. Dakota Point here, another one to go to. It's a little bit more of a walk from the parking lot down here, unless you have a four-wheeler come across, but there is some good bluegill action in there as well. And I know 385 was starting to skim over here recently, but there's always a lot of people in there going for perch and pike as well once it ices up. And Deerfield. So Deerfield, always a fun place to take newer fishermen and kids, just because once you find the perch, you can pretty much catch perch to your heart's content for the next couple hours. You got Gold Run here, always a popular place. Dutchman Launch area up here, another fun place to go. And just because that's where the perch usually are in these bays, like I was telling you about. And there's mud flats on the bottom, and then weeds as you get shallower in both locations. I have fished on the west side a number of times too, mostly for trout, but you will find some bigger perch over in this area, it seems like to me as well. But yeah, once you can find some schools of perch here, you'll catch 100 fish in an hour or so. Nothing huge, of course, but another good place these are both good places to take kids and newer fishermen just to kind of get into the sport and kind of using different lures or different techniques and see if they work. And stockade. So west side, we always hear about every early winter, so where everybody gets on first, like me this morning. Lots of bluegill in the area here. Usually you're fishing about 10 foot or less for the most part. I did not go out in the middle here today to see how the ice was. I didn't have time, but that will be coming pretty soon. But I'm usually fishing closer to shore here myself, and I know guys fish along this point as well. The Central Bay here, another good place. You can park, easy parking, easy access, and usually no problem finding crappies and bluegills in this area as well. The east side is where I usually find like bigger bluegills, usually about midwinter, about mid-December, late December. Another good place to check, and you can park right here and just walk right on the ice. It's a nice, easy, and convenient place to get on at. All right, I'll get us some tip-up fishing here. That's something I've been doing a little more of recently, the last few seasons. So, don't forget about bringing your tip-ups. Don't forget about bringing your dead stick rods, even if it's just with a bobber. Just something to get an extra line in the water. Because your tip up, your tip down, or your dead stick fishing can be fantastic across a good portion of our lakes here in the hills. We can have 4 lines in South Dakota, so why not use more lines? That's more bait in the water, gives you more of a chance to catch more fish. Increases your odds when you have more bait in the water, obviously. So you can have 4 lines per person. You might as well put put an extra line or 2 in the water if you can. Other places only allow 2, like Minnesota's only 2, I believe. North Dakota's 3. But so put those sticks out in the water. Tip ups are the traditional, the little round ones or the bar ones. But don't forget about the extra ice rods you might have. If you're not using them, throw a hook on it, throw a pencil, a bobber on it, a minnow or a worm, just throw it down there, put it off the bottom. That's a good way just to throw an extra line in the water. And some days, tip-up fishing, or whatever out there, is going to beat anything else you're doing, trying to get fish to bite, it seems like. I've had days on Stockade and Sheridan where it seems like tip-ups are going off, but I can't jig one up to save my life. So it's always important if you can put them out there, put them, if you're going to stick around there for a little bit, do it. They can be an anchor if you're a really mobile ice fisherman, but if you're going to be hanging around the area for a day, definitely put them out. Just a little more here about it. So great technique for secondary species, like if you're like I like to target pike while I'm going for bluegills. You can find our fish are running through if you're on a certain place, on a trout lake. And it will eliminate a lot of area as well around the area where you're fishing at. A general tip: place them at varying depths so you can kind of see what the fish are at. You know, if you're fishing for trout, for instance, put one in 3 foot of water, put one in 6 feet of water, put one in deeper water, just to kind of see where the fish might be. And then once if a particular spot's going off, well, then you know, go to that area and actually try and jig around that area, because that's where the fish are obviously running through. Pike, you're generally putting them in pretty shallow water, less than 5 feet is kind of where I usually look at. Most of my tip-ups when I'm going for them are usually about 4 to 5 feet. Sometimes I'll go a little bit shallow, like 3, but most of the time it's just in really shallow water like that. Trout, they run suspended normally, so you're going to kind of put your tip-ups kind of in the middle of the water column, maybe right below the ice. Sometimes, you know, if you just let go like a foot or two below the ice, you'd be surprised the number of trout that swim. A swimmer is looking for something kind of falling out of the ice, kind of similar to what pike does in shallow water. And panfish, this kind of applies with walleyes too, but you know, 6-inch still off the bottom with like a minnow over like muddy areas, weedy areas is a good way to kind of place to position those tip-ups at. Just kind of help you find out where the fish are at. Because if this one keeps going off, well, then you know, drill some more holes over here and try and go after them. And the baits can vary. You can use kind of whatever you want. I mean, you can use worms and minnows. You can use frozen smelt, anchovies, and hot dogs. Hot dogs are the ones I've always heard about. You know, I haven't used them personally, but I know guys around here have used them and have caught pike on them before. So you try and use whatever bait you can figure out. After a while. Because you just never know what you might catch if you put a tip-up out. So you know, if you got an opportunity to put them out, put them out. You know, I was fishing in the North Marina up there at Sheridan last year. I was fishing for bluegills, and I had my 3 tip-ups out. And this one went off, and that's what was on the end of the line. And that was about a 36-incher when I measured it. So that was my biggest bite I caught last year. And I was a little surprised because I hadn't caught really much of a pike all season long, and then caught that guy. So that was a good fight. I'm just glad I had him with me and put him out. It was a good lesson for that one. All right, I'm gonna go over some lake map options here with everybody. There are several apps available out there because everything runs on mobile these days. The Google Store, or the App Store, or the Apple Store. The most require a subscription. Apps available like Navionics. There's the One Network app from Humminbird that they also use. It works with your boat in there. But I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it. Onyx has been around for a couple of years now, and everybody raves about it in Minnesota and Wisconsin for how well the maps are and how it tells you, stocking reports, potential, numbers of fish, get the trophy fish. Well, it became available in South Dakota, I believe, about 2 weeks ago. The only drawback of Onyx, at least for me, is it's only available on the Apple Store currently, and I do not have Apple. There's a couple of discounts out there now. You can get about 30% discount for a year. It's only like $35. So I actually bought it for the year with the sale price, but I can access it on the website. So I've got that. It's a tab on my phone now, so I can always go and access those lake maps now because I signed up for a 1-year subscription for like $10. So that was a pretty good deal, I thought. For you Apple users, well, you got the app. You got a little bit more advantage. So some carry a yearly fee. Some you have to pay per lake. I know the old Humminbird app that I used to use, you paid per lake instead of just paying for your service. I think I bought Sheridan and Pactola when I used that service. I think they were both $10 each. But the detail was awesome for what I paid for them. The State Game and Fish website also has lake maps. If you guys aren't familiar with the website, you can access them for free and print them off or bring them on your phone and look at them. Most of them have been updated in a little while though, so I mean, depth-wise, they may not be the most accurate, but contour-wise, you can still see where where points are, where islands might be, where wing dams might be on there. The depth might just be a little different as all. But it's still a very good resource to use. It's a free resource to use. That's kind of where I started using maps when I first started getting ice fishing. Was I just went to the website and I used Game Fish maps. And I actually printed them off and laminated them so I could take a washable marker and actually mark the places where I caught fish at. And then next year I just wiped it off and started over. But if you're looking for some more tips throughout the season, there's different ways of doing it. They're also free. Podcasts. I got into listening to fishing podcasts a few years back, and it's just a great way to learn about tips and techniques and how to catch certain fish in particular situations. And I also hear about the latest news and gear recommendations from all the different fishing podcasts that are out there. And I listen to more or less the ice fishing ones are kind of my more key, which they're all pumping out good content right now. But there's some examples. There's the Ice Team podcast. There's Shack Talk, which is an Eskimo podcast. There's Dialed In Angling, which Tony Roach runs. Jason Mitchell Outdoors podcast. Midwest Angler podcast, which is an every other week one with a couple boys out of Iowa they're real fun to listen to. And the Iced Up podcast, who was Striker podcast, but now they're with Jiffy now, since Jiffy relaunched with new stuff this year. But those are all really good free podcasts to listen to, just to kind of get a little more knowledge, a little more understanding, just a little more ideas of things to try on the ice. Of course, good old YouTube always has some good series on there, some good shows. The Crappie Chronicles. Love the Crappie Chronicles, one of my favorite ice fishing shows. Jason Mitchell Outdoors, Dialed In England, and Roach Stuff podcast, and those videos as well out on the ice. It's a very good educational series he puts on. Devoted Outdoors also runs it's a husband and wife and their 2 daughters who run around doing trips on the ice. Real fun to watch. And there's all kinds of other guys out like Nick Linder, I think Brian Prosdal. They all have their own YouTube series. They're also real good to watch. Just to get some ideas on species to fish for, places to fish for, things to use. A little more knowledge never hurts anybody, and I love to learn myself. And if it can make me help me catch more fish, well, I'm all for it. But yeah, so these are free resources, just a way to gain more knowledge and tips to help you find more fish while you're out on the ice, and be more efficient. Because if you're just staying in one place, there's no fish around you. Well, you can either stay there and keep trying, or what would they have told you in one of these other shows? Well, move 20 feet this way or 30 feet this way, and try a different spot and see what happens. All right, we'll just include conclusions here before we bring on the kids panel. So anybody can hit the ice these days with the gear and the technology that we have and be successful. But remember, you don't have to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars, unless you really want to get the best of the best stuff to be successful. As long as you can get through the ice and see fish and catch fish, really that's all you really need. We're blessed with a plethora of opportunities here. We have so many lakes and so many different fish species to fish for in the hills and ones we can target. And we also have great opportunities for beginners and experienced angler ice anglers as well. For those of us who have lived here for a while, and getting my little one kind of into ice fishing, we do a little bit of fishing, then we go play for a while. That's kind of the way it is with being a kid. I was the same way when I was that age, so I just keep it in perspective when I'm like, I want you to fish, kid, but she's like, I want to play. I'm like, okay, we'll play then. But yeah, we just have such great opportunities here for ice access, fish, places to go. We really are quite blessed in living in the area we do. A little homework goes a long way, even if it's just for 5 minutes or so, just looking at an app or going to the Game and Fish website, checking these lake maps out, just to see, well, if I'm gonna go to this lake, well, where should I go to first? Give me the most successful. Look for these little, look for the drops, look for the little islands, look for the wing dams, look for, those different features, and you kind of have an idea where to go without the need for, expensive GPS maps or systems like these ones that have a GPS map on them. There's different ways to do it without needing the expensive gear. Don't forget to bring those tip-ups and dead sticks. I'm trying to pretty light these days right now because it's early season, but I will be bringing tip-ups out here pretty quick once the stock gets a little thicker yet. Because I got a hanker for some pike action. Be safe, especially right now. As we've won, the season is basically 2 weeks old. For those of us who have been a little bit more daring, slash not the smartest thing I do, but to this season, we don't need to be falling through the ice for sure. It's interesting when it happens, but I would not recommend it for anyone else. Great, but hey, once it is safe for ice, bring your family, bring your kids, bring your friends out, because we can enjoy it. Ice fishing is very much a communal sport, I think, more than anything else, because it's more fun to do when you have more people out with you. I go ice fishing myself pretty regularly here and there because it's just been my days off. But I always have more fun when I can bring girls out, I can bring friends out, and then you can sit and talk, and you can, congratulate each other on a big fish, or you can have fun when you tip a fish, and you race to get that tip up when the flag goes off. It's a lot of fun. It's very much a communal sport, and I really just love getting out there with a group of people and just having fun. Seeing them, I have more fun seeing people have success than myself most of the time these days. Just because it's what it's all about. It's seeing other people excited about the sport, catching fish, or even just enjoying time outside. In the winter time, which some people are like, "Why would you be on the ice in the winter time?" Well, it's fun. It's not so bad. All right, so now it is time for Aurora's Kid Question Corner. So Miss Aurora, you come up here, please. We're gonna draw the names out of that bucket. So how this is gonna work is, Miss Aurora is gonna draw 3 names out of the bucket, and then those 3 kids are gonna come up here, and along with Miss Aurora, you get to ask them some questions. And you have 4 questions, I think, and each kid gets a chance to answer each question. All right, let's draw some names here. We see the lucky 3 people.
Wait a second.
What?
Come on, bucket. You got 2
Oh. This is the drawing for all the prizes. Not quite doing that yet. Glad you got that though. All right. Because I think it's also important because the kids are the ones who are going to be doing these seminars, in the next 15, 20 years. So I think it's a good chance to give people an opportunity to see what it's like to stand in front of a crowd and answer questions. All right, Mr. Ryan, try that first name out. First name is Christian Allard. You can turn it down if you don't want to talk, you can definitely turn it down. It's up to you. Just 4 questions. That's right. All right. Draw another name. We'll have fun with this one. This is a fun way to get the kids involved. Winifred. There you go. No.
You're fine.
She said she wanted to go too. One more.
Grab one more.
And the last one is Addison H.
She's outside. You can pick it up.
Oh,
Sorry.
oh, that's good. That's okay. It's like Dakota Sigler. Saying that right? You want? It's up to you. All right. All right, we got our pro panel here, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So, whoever has a question right now, I want each kid gets a chance to answer each question. We'll do 4 questions, I think, for this first time doing it this way. So, can I get the first question here?
I got it. What is your favorite part of being outside?
Let's go first. First. What's your favorite part of being outside? What's your favorite part of being outside?
My favorite thing about being outside is either playing or sometimes going ice fishing.
I like it. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Next.
My favorite part about being outside is getting away from people.
The winter time is always good. Big orange this little one ruined one of my slides last year playing friends on the ice.
My favorite thing is
Playing, that's good. All right. All right. That's a good first question. So, question number 2. Oh, slide over here. Oh, go ahead and ask if you want.
Hey, do you guys bait your own hooks?
Ooh, do you bait your own hooks?
sometimes I do, but sometimes I don't. So I'm not gonna go with a yes. No.
In fact,
Most of the time.
there you go. That's okay. My wife here back over here, she doesn't bait her hook. She only lets us corn. She'll do corn, which does work really well. All right. Thank you. All right. 2 more questions here. What's number 3? Oh, first one over here.
What's your favorite fish?
What's your favorite fish? Who wants to go first?
A black marlin.
Black marlin. Nowhere here, yeah. Well, very cool. Trout? Yeah, that's a good one. Smart.
My favorite is trout, but I think I might just call it rainbow trout because that was the biggest one I've ever caught.
The ice.
The eyes. Also rainbow trout.
Okay, appreciate that. All right, guys, who's got one last real good stumper here for the kids? One last good stumper here for the kids. All right, let's see what you got.
So, my question is, what's your favorite thing about ice fishing?
Ooh, that's a good one. What's your favorite thing about ice fishing?
I like the challenge of trying to find the fish without a fish finder.
Ooh, really old school. Okay, I like that. Very old school.
My favorite thing about ice fishing is that when it's snowy out, we can make snowmans and go sledding. Or sometimes when I'm at really busy lakes, I can catch a lot of fish. My favorite thing about ice fishing is just being on the ice.
There you go. I like it. All right, kids. I appreciate you doing that. And as a thank you to you three for coming up here and doing this with us today, I have a $10 gift card to the Rooster for all 3 of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, she said thank you for coming up here. So all 3 of them. You can go to the store now and can pick up some ice fishing gear for the year because they are fully stocked now for the year. That's a really good after hours event coming up next Friday through Sunday as well. All right. So, but if you need more on top of these wonderful answers that the kids have given us, you can, or any advice, or even just meeting with me, meeting on the ice for a trip. You can always get a hold of me at my email address there at drauger81@hotmail.com. On Facebook as well, you can message me through that on my personal page, and or through my website, which is listed there. I do have some business cards back over there. I also have the contact information. Please just, if you have any questions, get a hold of me. I have no secret spots, no secret. I want you to be on the ice, be safe, and be catching fish. So I will tell you where to go, what to use. I don't have a problem with doing that for you. So get hold of me anytime you guys need information, or if you want to meet on the ice, that's even better because then we can go out there and fish together. All right. Now we will get into our donation time here. So we got some fun awards, some fun prizes to give away over here. I just gotta thank all our sponsors though first. She's very eager. We've got Clam, Cold Snap Outdoors, Fishing Salt, Widowmaker, Wild Outfitters, Ravenhead Outdoors, Lake Effect Lures, Amped Outdoors, Relevant, which they'll be for the next seminar, Vexelar, Shields, Fleet Farm, Aurora Lake Creations, as well as Dakota Bates and Mr. Tony Hummel having donated a wonderful wood engraved sign over here. So we'll get to this, and then we'll get to the question, to the Q&A session. If that's okay with everybody. Yes. All right. So I think I reversed this. Do you want to do? We'll do a couple prizes to start with, then we'll do some questions, then we'll finish it out. We'll kind of split it. All right. So for our first, we'll do a kids prize first here. What should we do first here for a kiddo? Let's see. How about we do? I got a collection of Widowmakers, some Widowmakers best ice jigs here for a kid, including my absolute favorite lure for bluegills is this pink one in the front here. It's called Lucky Lady. It's a very good bluegill catching lure. We need drop trouble.
Oh, hey there.
Jude. That's all I got. Hey, there you go. Good job, bud. All right, we will do an adult prize now. Let's see what we should grab. Let's see. Let us do. We got a collection of some clam lures here. We got some flutter spoons. These are more for larger trout or walleye fishing. These lures are here, so those will be done for that. We'll do that next.
Doug's Stupid Jerkin.
Dr. Durson?
Thank you very much. All right, let's get a kid prize over here. All right, so this is from my buddy Jay, who runs Ravenhead Outdoors. He's got some custom tied tungsten jigs here. This on the side business that he does here. These work very well in the summertime, so they'll work very well in the wintertime as well. These are actually made specifically for ice fishing, so really good for bluegill fishing. Okay. Shields card here.
Hey, grab one step.
those for a little bit here, and now we will go through some questions here. So, whatever questions you got, fire away. How long do I sit on a hole before moving away and try something else? Well, honestly, most people will tell you about 5, maybe 10 minutes for the most part, but I tend to probably get about 20 minutes myself, just because I'm a little stubborn. I want to get a fish out of this hole as much as I can, and then after about 20 minutes tops is when I usually move away a different hole. Usually, especially if I'm bluegill fishing, usually they'll come through in a school, they'll be around for a little bit, and then they're gone. I'll kind of try to see if I can bring them back to me before I move on a different hole. But most people would say about 5 maybe 10 minutes tops, and you move away. If you're going on a smaller pond like for trout, you're probably the trout are just constantly doing this. So if you stay in a hole long enough, you're probably going to catch something eventually. So it's a little less likely to do that.
You talk about ice color and clarity, what it means.
Talk about ice color and clarity. Well, since a good majority of our lakes, especially the trout ponds and whatnot, they're usually pretty clear. So I like to use kind of more flashy, shiny colors for the most part. You're in gold, silver, blue, because I think they just they really shine a lot more in that clearer water. And then if it's like murkier water, like if you're at Stockade or what else? Stockade's kind of the main one. We're running cloudy water a lot of times, so it's sometimes Legion. Then I'll use more colored lures like your chartreuse, your pinks, your bright. I'll still use gold because gold is just a universally good color for the most part, whether it's a spoon or a jig. But on that murkier water or low light, then you might want to use more the glow style. Like I said, you got greens, blues, fire tigers are a popular one to use. I like to use pink a lot in murkier water. Pink's always been a good color for me.
So with Stockade starting to freeze up, and everybody knows how finicky the panfish can be there, what are your recommendations on early ice with the finicky bite?
Well, with a finicky bite, I usually have a couple of rods already. One with like a small spoon, like a small pinhead, like a 36-ounce pinhead, and then I'll have one that has probably about a 4 mil size jig, and then I'll do a third one that usually has a smaller on it. Like this little guy here is kind of my finesse bite, light bite day. This one's got a teeny tiny little like 2.5 size lure on it. Fun to tie him out through with this tiny little knot. But that's what I usually end up doing on a finicky bite. I will downsize to about as small as I feel comfortable with. I won't go anything smaller than that, and you barely see it for the most part. But I would say your best bet is to kind of have a few rods ready, or at least be ready to retie a couple of times. I also go down in the line size. Most of these rods have got you got a 4-pound test, and you got 3-pound test, and you got 2-pound test. Just because that thinner line is a little bit easier, it's less likely to see in the water once you control those tiny little jigs a lot more efficiently.
I would also suggest a can of corn.
Yes, you love that corn, that's for sure. She does really well in corn though too. And the green coat. Best place to go fishing in South Dakota, huh? Well, I guess it kind of depends on the time of year, honestly. I mean, I'd say best overall, if I'm thinking kind of both ice and open water, is probably going to be Sheridan, I would say. The bays are always really good for catching, pike, bluegills, bass in the wintertime, as well as in the open water time. Like Chipper Bay or on the South Marina side or the North Marina. Otherwise, another place would be Pactola. Really good for shore fishing, really good for ice fishing some days. So it's probably, I'd say Sheridan with a close second to Pactola. Little one and little coater. How did I get my nickname Dr. Auger? Well, my uncle of all people, who used to work for Nike as a graphic designer, he decided that my wanting to educate others to help them be more successful apparently applied somehow to the medical profession. So he just gave me this nickname of Dr. Auger and created the logo that I use for my my seminars and whatnot, which is why the auger looks like has the snake wrap around it, looking like a medical sign. So that was kind of how I got it. I'm not sure where he got it from, but it sounded pretty cool, and I stuck with it since pink shirt. What kind of socks? Well, good question. So having a 7-year-old and my wife here who feet get cold pretty regularly, a good pair of merino wool socks works really well with a liner that's moisture wicking underneath. That helps keep your feet from sweating so much. When your feet sweat, they'll get colder faster. So the liner pulls that moisture off your foot, and then the wool sock will keep your foot insulated. Otherwise, we're experimenting with some alpaca socks this year that we bought at Shields for the other day, because we've had recommendation from people that say alpaca socks work really well to keep your feet both dry and warm. So we're going to see how well those work this winter.
Also, they have, for people that get cold feet, they have felt inserts that you can put in your boots. They actually work really well. You can get them at like Fleet Farm. I got some at Shields, and the liner has felt on it, and then it has like a silver, it's almost like bubble wrap is what it looks like. Those actually were wonderful with the wool socks with them. It worked like a charm. And then another thing that some people do is buying the electric socks. But if you have any type of health condition, I want you to be very, very careful, because they can burn your feet and you may not notice because your feet just feel warm. So try some other things. If you use the electric socks and they work for you, just make sure you're paying attention.
Over here. When you know the ice is ready, well, that is kind of up to, I guess, the person who wants to go out. I mean, when I first started ice fishing, unless it was 8 inches thick, I didn't want to go out. It's only been the last, probably 8 or 9 years where I've gotten a little bit more daring, shall I say, to go out on 4 inches of ice and then 3 inches of ice, and pretty much now it's 2. But no less than that. Which, that's why I have a float suit, all this fun stuff, just to, so I don't have to worry so much about it. But for the most part, if you follow the reports, I mean, stuff online is probably the best bet. I mean, for some most cases, might be hard to find, but ask somebody who goes out. The Rooster is a good resource to kind of find out when there's going to go out. Right now, they're recommending that unless you know what you're doing, don't go out on the ice right now. It's just not thick enough yet to be where you can feel reasonably safe. But I'd say if you're looking for kind of a time period, most years by this point you should be able to get on almost any lakes other than Pactola. But the year started about 3 weeks later than normal this year. So right now I would say probably closer to Christmas for kind of more of the experienced or more first timers or kind of new ones to ice fishing. I'd say wait till closer to Christmas, and then maybe start looking at like Stockade. Silva's pretty good. I think Silva's pretty good right now, at least on the south side. It's 6 inches, but you might probably about a week, and that would probably be just fine as well. Silva's a good place to go early ice normally, or first ice, because the trout usually can be insane. Unless it's like today where it's high pressure, high wind, and they were a little bit sketchy today. But 3 days before that, my friend tried to keep me off the hook. Because it was a nice day and there was no wind and anything else pushing that day. So best bet is to say about Christmas time this year to kind of feel a little safer. Blue shirt. My favorite brand. Well, I've been on my Klamath Pro staff for about this is my 12th year this year. I used their stuff before I applied basically for Pro Staff membership. So they are seeing how things have progressed through them for the last 13 years with the lures and the gear that they've been coming out with. They're probably definitely my favorite brand that I use. But I also use a lot of other brands as well. There are different lures I use, different rods and reels I use. That may necessarily be their brand, but overall I would say Big Clam.
Do you have more success like actively jigging for like trout, or just baiting tip-ups, or dead baiting, dead sticking?
Do I have more success jigging for lake trout or using dead sticks? Well, it's one fish that I really need to get, kind of figure out these days. I'm definitely not the best lake trout fisherman. That'd be like Craig Willer and a couple other friends of mine who do fairly well on them. But in the past, when I have gone for them, dead sticks have seemed to work the best for me, usually with a shiner on it, about a 4-inch shiner, about 10 feet off the bottom. I'm normally fishing fairly deep for them, like 60 feet of water. Because that, I've seen some people take dead bait, like smelt and throw them on the bottom. I've seen video of lake trout on the bottom grabbing dead fish out of the mud. So that's also another option maybe for trying with a smelt or something down at the bottom. And but yeah, I've actually, the only time I've ever jigged up a laker is on Deerfield. Otherwise, back to it seems like they like a dead sticks more. Yes. Have I ever ice camped? Boy, I want to. I got all the stuff for it here, but haven't been successful in doing it quite yet. So, but if I got the hub and the heater, pretty much all we need is a cot and a carbon dioxide detector, and someone to let me. Yeah, I would love to ice camp. I have some friends who've ice camped up on Norman, on Deerfield before in the past. It looks like a lot of fun. I watched a lot of videos on kind of how to ways to rig up your shelters and safety features and whatnot. So hopefully one of these days I'll get around to it here with some of my buddies. Ms. Roy.
I have a question for all of you guys. I'm gonna get my book. I'm going to ask you 3 kinds of. I'm going to ask you. What was your favorite? Okay, where is it going to say it? What was your most favorite fish, and what was your biggest one? Like your most favorite one or your most favorite one? Now that's a question for you guys.
Just a random people, just go ahead and say it. Go ahead. Anybody want to say? Nobody wants to say?
Well, last year was my first year ever ice fishing. And I was out with the crew, Cascade Fest. And I hooked a monster. I was feeling like a kid. Caught that big old
Yeah, you
laker.
catch that laker, didn't you? That's right, I forgot about that, yeah.
And I was like, oh my God.
That's right, yeah, Lakers on Pactola, they're a lot of fun for sure.
What's your all-time favorite combo rod?
My favorite rod, my favorite kind of combo. Well, I mean, it's kind of, in the 13 years I've been fishing pretty hard through the ice. It's kind of changes every few years. But my current favorite combo, I would say, would be the Katana rods here. They're very, very lightweight, very comfortable. They don't ice up or get gooey with trout slime on the handle. Very sensitive, and not priced over $100, which is nice, for a good I guess mass-produced rod I would call it, compared to more of a custom style rod. This one, this was $50. This was $90. This rod, so I would say that's definitely my favorite rod, either in the spring bobber or in the noodle rod style right now. And I've been with PC Fun for about 4 or 5 years now, and those are the reels that I mostly use now. The carbon rods reels are definitely my absolute favorite.
Scott, they're on sale right now on the website.
What's that?
They're 50% off.
Oh, and the Katana Spit rods are on sale on the website, 50% off. Right back.
Is there a certain temperature range that the fish bite best at? Like, does it ever get too cold that they're not really biting at all, or?
Not really, no. I mean, it seems like, just the fish patterns kind of more detailed, more than anything else than temperature. I know there's the thermocline on Pactola I'll be able to talk about. But that's more of a summer thing, I think. I know when the water is really warm, it seems like in the summer, the fish push deeper, but in the wintertime, it doesn't seem to really matter as far, at least what I've seen anyway in my, 13 years or so of doing this, that water temperature for ice doesn't really make much of a difference more than, air pressure makes more of a difference than temperature does all the time, so. Better?
What's your opinion on tying the jig right to the rod or using a small clip?
Tying the jig to the line using a clip. With my spoons, I will use a clip just because I'm usually changing them out pretty regularly, and they don't really affect the action, in my opinion, so much. But when I'm using jigs, then I'll do a direct line tie then. Just because you don't want them to be moving back and forth on a clip like this while you're sitting there doing this. You want it to be more of a natural presentation, and if you do direct to line, you'll get that more horizontal, or if you want to go vertical, it'll look a lot more natural instead of just kind of doing this along the swivel.
Can you explain what a dead stick is and what it can do?
Explain what a dead stick is and what it can do. Well, a dead stick is pretty much whatever, it's a rod you're going to put out and you're not going to touch it basically. You're going to let the bait do the work for you. Right? So I usually use minnows or shiners. And so the bait does all the work for you, whether you're using a, like a bobber setup, you're waiting for the bobber to start going down, or if you're using a tip up or an automatic style, like this is an automatic style tip up here. The bait's doing the work for you. Like mine pike fishing, I'm usually using frozen smelt that's been soaking in a kind of a fire brine that the rooster has, and then it's just you're letting the smell and the flavor do all the work for you because the fish is dead, obviously. The bait's dead, obviously. But it's all about the visual and that smell coming off of the dead bait for that one.
So, what is the best bait for rainbow trout?
Best bait for rainbow trout? Well, corn. She would say definitely corn. Easy one to use. I like to use, actually I'm more of a plastics user when it comes to trout. I've got lots and lots of plastics, mostly like shrimp shaped or bug shaped, and they have a lot of appendages on them. So then you're doing this and they're moving around the water a lot. Even when you're holding still, it's really different, because even if you're holding still, you can't hold perfectly still, you're still shaking a little bit. And some of that little quiver sometimes will really get those fish to engage. So I like to use a lot of plastics for my trout.
Are you an inline guy, or do you like the spinning reel more?
Am I inline or spinning reel? Well, I do both. I'm inline a lot more for bluegills around here. But I do still use my spinning setups here for them as well. But I usually do kind of a 1-2 punch for the most part. I use the spinning reel for the spoons, like for pinheads or tikka flashes or any other small panfish spoons. And then if that kind of brings them in but they want to bite, then I'll switch it up to more of the inline style, because that presents the bait in a nice non-twisting version, because there's no line twist in an inline reel. And because a lot of times if you're doing this to a jig with a spinning reel, you reel your line up, and what's that lure doing? It's just doing this. Well, it's also doing that down there when the fish are around it, so it's not natural look at all. Whereas those inline reels eliminate that twist, so the bait pretty much stays how it's supposed to stay. So bluegills, like I said, are very visual, and if there's anything remotely wrong with a looking lure, they probably will not going to bite it.
Recommendations for kids.
Let's see. I guess for kids, I mean, we started her off when she was younger with just snow bibs and a top, which for the most part will work, keep them warm. Because kids, you're holding still, they're running around, they're going to stay warm kind of all on their own, especially if it's a nice day out. But the only problem we've ever had is wet. They just get wet because they're sliding around the slush and the snow, so they got to come in and change. I mean, when I was a kid, we used to, if we got wet or stepped in a hole, we went into the shelter, changed our socks, and just threw on some stuff and went back outside and played. But if you can find anything waterproof, especially bibs that are waterproof, it doesn't have to be a nice fishing brand. I mean, she wears the Clam Youth suit, which is waterproof, thankfully, so she doesn't get wet anymore from at least the waist down. Can't say the same thing about the top or her hands, but Anything waterproof is really what you gotta look for with kids stuff. I mean, it doesn't have to be an ice fishing specific, thing, but I think there's some ski pants out there or bibs that are also waterproof that are, they're a lot less money than an ice fishing, suit would be.
If you have kids with you that are getting wet, the best thing that I have found is, in all seriousness, press and seal. I put it all over her pants. I used the press and seal wrap. I wrapped it around her, and she stayed dry. So I wrapped up her ankles in her boots, and then we put the snowsuit on her. It was very inexpensive. It was a great way to do it. And then to keep her hands from getting soaked, I actually just buy the dollar store plastic gloves. I use those for myself because I don't want to touch the slimy trouts with my nice gloves. So really be inventive when you're taking them out there, because that stuff gets super expensive. And unless you're gonna go all of the time, you may not want to put that money into it, but press and seal wrap works great. We've had people tell us that they've also used like bread bags to keep the legs warm. So the suits are great, all of that stuff is wonderful, but especially if you have other people that are coming out with you that don't have the funds to buy those things, press and seal, it's great for everything.
You guys ask a question yet?
When you start out ice fishing for the day, you just drill holes before you set up the net? If so, how many?
Yes, I mean, last year I tried writing a few holes, and I put the eagle eye down here, just kind of scan around and kind of illuminate how to do all that. But right now with early ice, right now I'm not bringing this thing out yet. So I'm usually drilling a bunch of, usually I start about with a grid of about 6 to 8 holes. I'll go out a little bit further, drill a line, I'll come in a little bit and drill a line, and then I'll usually kind of go to a corner, I'll kind of zigzag, just kind of see where the depths are at on my Vexlar screen. And if I see any fish below me, and that's usually where if I see a fish, that's where I start. I mean, if you're trout fishing, trout lakes around here, you're probably not going to see a fish when you put your line down right away. If you go down and just try and draw them in. But if you go to like Stockade or any of the panfish places, usually if I don't see them below me, I won't drop the line. I'll produce it first, and then we'll fish fish, we'll fish there. If I don't see anything, I'll just move on to another hole until I find some fish, pretty much. So I would say about 6 to 8 holes is what I start with. Couple more here, and then we can probably just go back in the corner over here.
I haven't heard you talk about fishing for walleye. So do you? Where do you do it? What are your tips?
Oh boy, walleye fishing. I did a lot with my dad up at the Shade Hill and Flat Creek. But as far as here in the hills, I haven't caught a walleye out of Ormond in probably 7 years. I don't go up there very often just because I got skunks so many times going up there. But I do have a lot of lures for catching them. But the ones I have caught up at like Shade Hill and Flat Creek are usually spoons or like the jigging wraps or the tikka minnows. I've caught walleyes on those ones before, and or anything that rattles. He seems to draw them in as well. I got some of the different rattle baits that are out there. My dad swears by rick wraps for fishing because they're loud. They move a lot of water. So it's a good bait to try and use it. At least bring them in and see it. If they're aggressive, they'll grab it. But if they're not aggressive, you call them in. At least for something that's a little more nuanced, a little more technique specific. And so.
What month do you have the most success?
What month for just fish in general, or trout, or for trout? Usually, if you can get on an earlier ice, that tends to be the best time. It seems like once you get past about 12 inches, it's a little bit harder. But then again, I think it's not so much. It's more about the weather than anything else that affects trout fishing, especially if the pressure is really high. Trout are really affected by high barometric pressure because their swim bladers are fairly large. So when you got the pressure's up, it's pushing down on that ice. The ice pushes into the water, pushes into the fish. Makes the swim bladder contract more, so they are more lethargic, less likely to eat anything. Versus when you got a nice even pressure day or low pressure, it will shrink down a little bit. Stomach expands. They're hungry on the chow. But there are some lakes. I know like Dalton for one, Sylvan for one, where if you can get on once the ice is at least 5 or 6 inches thick. it's a hot bite. Like I said, my friend went up there 3 days ago on Silva, and he said they had hard time keeping the fish off. Versus this morning where I was up there, and I caught 6 or 7 in about an hour or so, but it was also really high pressure for the day as well as with the wind. And we'll get with, yes. How do I stay warm in the cold? Well, I mean, I do have an ice fishing suit. I do wear the Delta ice armor suit. It's a very warm suit, very comfortable, very flexible. Like today, I just turned my back to the wind, and I was perfectly warm. Even with that wind blowing on me 35 mile an hour gusts that were blowing up there at Silva this morning, and I hardly even noticed it. So that's kind of your best bet. Is anything that's windproof, waterproof is going to be a lot better for you, because if you're moving around a little bit, even if it's cold, you're going to stay warm. But if you're holding still and the wind's blowing, wind more than anything else is what's going to make you cold. More than the actual cold will do it to you. But the other part of your question was, what's the coldest I've ever fished in? Let's see, negative 22. I remember we were fishing on Sheridan a couple years back in the North Bay there, and it was negative 22 when we got to the bay. We all had hubs and our heaters, so it was like we had a little hub party out there on the ice, and everybody had their own heaters. And I was in my shelter wearing I was just wearing my my hoodie, because it was like 60 degrees inside my hub. Even when you pop your head outside, your head about froze with that temperature. But that's the coldest I've ever ice fished in. All right, one last question. Let's go with you're doing, man.
He wants to know, what's the easiest way to get out if you fall?
Easiest way to get out? Well, and with your ice picks, it's a lot easier. You just have to get them off and just get them on the ice and pour yourself out. But with me, with my float suit, I had those. Plus, I just kind of, when I went through, I just kind of rotated my hips a little bit, and my legs just floated up, because my bibs are also flotation. And I just used those just to pull myself out. It actually wasn't too hard once I stopped kicking my feet. After a few seconds, I was like, oh, just do this, and they just floated up, and I just pulled myself out with the picks then after that, so.
And you showed them how to use the picks?
Yes, we do go through pick usages. All right, so if you have any questions afterwards, go on come up here, and I can definitely talk to you some more. We'll get back to our prizes now here. Let's work on the kids' prize. Let's go with this one here. It's a brand new tackle box this year from Clam. It's magnetic, and surprisingly, it works really well. You throw your loopers here, the hooks will stick to this in the different compartments, and I experimented with this one a few days ago, and you can actually do this, and they don't come off the magnet, surprisingly. I figured you'd be doing this, they'd be coming off. I mean, I had to really hit pretty hard for the lures to actually come off the magnet here. So it's a very good new tackle box this year. It's not even available in town. No place sells this in town here, so it's kind of a unique item too.
Yeah, that was big.
So for our first one here, Eli Brogdon. See that right?
Here we go.
Thank you. All right. I'm gonna go with an adult prize here. Let's go with. We're gonna go with the amped battery and charger here. For anybody, if you haven't used lithium before, this will change your world when it comes to using the flashers. This one goes to Shauna Holtz. Well, your time to go now. Thank you very much. All right, next kid one here. We've got a collection of Clam lures here. We got pinheads, we got the Tika flash, we got some little plastics. This is a panfish set here. That from Addison H. There we go. These are really well. These are definitely a good panfish set. All right, next adult one here. Oh, let's go with. I'm gonna go with this. We're going with Tony's sign here. If you haven't seen this yet, we had these last year. This is an awesome sign display for your man cave or your woman cave or around the house here. He engraved this himself, donated it, sort of thing. So Tony, thank you very much again.
And Tony's right over here.
There you are, Tony. Thank you. This is beautiful. I would love to have winners from my house. Winner is Travis Hill. Really appreciate it. It's all those, so we're awesome. All right, kids one here. We've got. Let's go with one more. Let's go with an adult one here. I have a gift card, $100 to Fleet Farm. Fleet Farm has had a very generous donation for this seminar and the next one as well. Matt Regals. Awesome. Let's go with that. All right, then we'll go with the kids here. I just got a donation from Cold Snap the other day. This is their Talon rod. It's a really nice medium rod with a nice soft tip. I use this one for more for trout fishing on like center and Pactola. Just because it's got a lot of backbone, but you can still look at fish with this pretty sensitive tip, but it's got a lot of backbone. So handle those big trout. Dakota Sigler. These are real. You're good to go for some night, man. Thank you very much.
Dakota's been ice fishing since he was a month old.
Really? Well, can I learn to take some lessons from you then? All right. Man, adult prize here. We got a nice big one here. This was a donation from Lake Effect Lures. I have a panty stopper rod. It's a very nice panfish rod. It's a noodle style, as well as a very large collection of their tungsten jigs and their plastics. Probably about $150 worth of gear here at least. This is a very nice setup for both trout and especially for panfish. The winner is Jim Smorgovitz. There you go. Appreciate it. Thank you. That's what you did with that last year. I remember that. All right. Then we've got one more prize. With our 2 grand prize drawings now. So like I said, those were for.
I know.
I'll throw them in with it then.
No, just.
Oh, sorry. I guess I do have. We have some other jigs here.
I have eyeballs too.
She's got the eyes of this operation. Yeah, so I got another collection of those jigs for my friend Jay here. Some good panfish ones here. I'm glad you got eyes. And the lucky winner is Michaela Sigler. A lot of good fish. All right, we got some other prizes here. We got my wife was kind of donate some of her custom jewelry from her side business Aurora Ray Creations. These are some very nice ones. I actually wear a couple myself. I hope we can win some lucky person will win these. Okay, a smaller one for a kid. Everyone do that one first.
The green should have been the kids. It would have made more sense.
Archer Verco.
Here we go.
Wait. Oh, we got something here.
Oh, what?
There you go.
You might like these better. See, I was prepared.
Thank you. All right, try that. Let's go for that one here.
These boys are not going to be having stuff with it.
We're not girlfriends, you never know.
Here we go.
Winifred. All right. We got these 2 here. grand prize first. But this is a guided trip with Mr. Kevin Vaughn up there in Ormond. He does say he does prefer to do a boat. He says the boat guiding trip is much more successful at both numbers and size. So we do recommend whoever wins this to get a hold of him, and we can get that set up. If you want to do ice, he said we'd be willing to do it too, if you want to try it. So our grand prize winner for our guided walleye trip with Mr. Kevin Vaughn from Wild Walleye Outfitters is Tyler. All right, and for our grand finale for our kid, a Vexilar FL8 for one lucky kid here. It is a reconditioned unit. It still works. They do not sell it if it does not work. And it's get sent back to them. And they had to make sure it worked before they put it back out there. So, and not only are they winning this, but I'm also throwing in an amp battery, because this is going to be a lot lighter with this versus having the SLA batteries that comes with it. All right. And if you guys, whoever wins some of these prizes, if you guys don't mind coming up here and some pictures, I want to send to like Vexilar and Kevin and one, that'd be great. All right, here we go, here we go. Oh, just kidding, yeah, sorry. This is good. All right, and if you have a unit already, make sure you tell me. Micah Koch. Is here? Very good. You will be catching fish. You'll be catching fish now for a long, long time. You can hold it for it? We'll wait till it. Awesome. The batteries are actually the lightest part. Okay? All right, awesome. Well, thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate you guys coming. I hope you enjoy all these prizes you guys have won. Let me just get to my thing here. Well, thanks a lot, everybody. I really appreciate it. And just as a way for 2 weeks from today, I'll be doing another seminar here about ice fishing electronics. This one with my friend Jay, with Maghar here. And it's going to be geared a little more advanced fishing, but realistically, anybody wants to learn about electronics, kind of how they work, definitely a good seminar to come to. We'll have lots of good information from him. He knows his forward-facing systems a lot better than I do, because I've been with this for 1 year. He's in a lab school for about the last 6 or so. So he knows a little bit about how to get those things dialed in, and we'll kind of go over more Vexilar stuff or other flashers as well. So I highly encourage you, if you want to learn about them, definitely come. It'll be a little more advanced information. And we'll also have prizes there as well for kids and adults as well, with that one too. And with that, I guess I would say thank you very much for coming to the seminar tonight. If you guys have more questions, come on up here afterwards, or grab a business card and get home and anything you guys want. Thank you for coming. Everybody have a good, safe ice season this year.
There's some QR codes on the door. You want to give us some feedback on the seminar?
Give us QR codes, guys. Give us some feedback on this. This is how they help people with programs. I'd like some pictures with the people who want the grand prize. That'd be great. Here, grab your. Yeah, we got it.